He looked tired, but he smiled at his daughters. Power, he told them quietly, is not proven by how many kneel before you, but by how many feel safe because you stand. Amina listened with curiosity, and Kechi listened like someone storing treasure. None of them knew those would be the last peaceful words spoken in that courtyard. The attack began at midnight, not from outside the walls, but from within. Screams shattered the night. Flames rose from the guard towers. Trusted generals turned their blades. Chief Minister Obasi had made his move. Gold had exchanged hands. Promises had been whispered. Ambition had ripened. Amina awoke to chaos. Smoke filled her chamber. She grabbed Nkechi from her sleeping mat. "Do not let go of me," she commanded. They ran through corridors now echoing with betrayal. Their mother's chambers were silent. Too silent. Amina did not open that door. She already knew. In the throne hall, their father was on his knees, surrounded, bleeding. Obasi stood before him, holding the royal blade. "You ruled with softness," Obasi spat. "The world does not respect softness." The king's eyes found Amina across the hall, and in that moment, he did not look like a king. He looked like a father who knew he was leaving too soon. "Protect your sister," he mouthed. The blade fell. Nkechi screamed. Amina did not. Something inside her sealed shut. That was the moment the lioness began to awaken. A loyal guard, Captain Kojo, smuggled the girls out through underground grain tunnels. Meanwhile, Nkechi learned differently. An elderly woman named Mama Sade taught her to read, taught her to think, taught her to pray quietly before sleeping. "Strength," Mama Sade would whisper, "does not always roar. Sometimes it kneels." Nkechi held on to that, even as her sister hardened into iron. At 21, Amina returned, not as a refugee, but as a storm. She gathered warriors from rival clans, promised them land, gold, and glory, and at dawn she attacked Zamora. The battle lasted 3 days. The people, tired of Obasi's corrupt rule, did not resist. When Amina faced Obasi in the throne room, he recognized her too late. "You are your father's daughter," he sneered. "No," she replied calmly. "I am what you created." She drove her blade through him and reclaimed the throne. The 7 kingdoms took notice. A young woman now ruled Zamora, and she ruled without hesitation. When neighboring states tested her borders, she crushed them. When generals questioned her, she replaced them. When rebellion stirred, it disappeared. They began calling her the Lioness of the North. Her name traveled faster than caravans. Children were warned about her. Men feared her. Enemies respected her. But every night, when the armor came off, she sat beside Nkechi and allowed herself to breathe. In private chambers far from council ears, they were just sisters again. Nkechi would braid Amina's hair. "You don't have to fight everyone," Nkechi would say softly. "War drums, horses approaching. In every kingdom forged by war, peace never arrives quietly. It comes disguised, smiling, carrying gifts. And sometimes it comes wearing the face of a prince." The southern gates of Zamora opened beneath the dry Hamatan wind. A royal caravan entered. Silk banners of deep emerald fluttered, the colors of Kitala, Zamora's oldest rival. At its center rode Prince Jabari Adekunle of Kitala. Tall, broad-shouldered, eyes sharp with intelligence rather than arrogance. He did not look like a man begging peace. He looked like a man studying a battlefield. And the battlefield was Amina. Inside the palace balcony, Queen Amina stood in full armor observing. Her generals flanked her.
Your father burned 3 of my border villages 5 years ago, and you burned 5 of ours in return, Jabari answered without flinching. A murmur swept the court. He was either foolish or fearless. Amina stepped close enough to see the scar near his temple. "Why are you here?" she asked quietly. "To end a cycle neither of us inherited, but both of us continue." For a moment, silence, and something else. Recognition. 2 rulers raised by blood. Later that evening, in the palace gardens, Nkechi wandered alone. She often escaped council noise by walking among jasmine vines. She carried her mother's old leather-bound scriptures in a silk wrap beneath her shawl. As she turned a corner, she collided with someone. The book fell. Jabari bent first. He picked it up carefully. "You dropped this." Their eyes met. Nkechi noticed he did not mock the book, did not question it. He simply handed it back with respect. "You are the queen's sister," he said. "And you are the enemy prince," she replied softly. Something shifted in the air. Not thunder, not fire. Something quieter, more dangerous. Curiosity. Over the next week, peace talks continued, but so did secret conversations, in shaded corridors, by moonlit fountains. Jabari spoke of his mother, a wise woman who believed war was often fueled by wounded pride. Nkechi listened. No one had spoken to her about politics like she mattered before, not as a pawn, not as a liability, but a mind. "The lioness is feared," Idoe continued, "but love softens claws." A faction began forming, not openly, but deliberately. The idea was simple. If Amina became distracted, she could be replaced. One evening, beneath a sky heavy with rain clouds, Jabari spoke plainly. "I will not insult you with secrecy," he said to Nkechi. "I admire you." She swallowed. "You barely know me." "I know enough," he replied. "You speak hope into rooms ruled by fear." Her breath trembled. No one had ever described her that way. "You are dangerous," she whispered. "So are you." He smiled faintly. They did not touch, but sometimes restraint burns louder than passion. It happened during the Feast of New Harvest. Music filled the courtyard. Wine flowed. The prince and Nkechi stood too close, too long, and Amina saw. In front of nobles, in front of generals, in front of rival envoys. The lioness walked across the courtyard slowly. Silence followed her like a shadow. She stopped before Jabari. Her voice was calm, but the calm of a blade before it swings. "You forget where you stand." Jabari bowed slightly. "I stand in the presence of a powerful queen. You forget where you stand, and beside someone you will not approach again," Amina replied. Gasps rippled. Nkechi stepped forward. "Sister?" "Enough," Amina snapped. For the first time in years, there was distance between them. Not physical, something deeper. At dawn, Jabari was escorted to the gates. Not imprisoned, not executed, but banished. Before he mounted his horse, he looked once toward the palace towers. Nkechi watched from behind carved wooden screens. Their eyes met one final time. That night, Nkechi confronted Amina. "You cannot fight my heart like it is an enemy army," she said, voice shaking but firm. Amina's eyes burned.
I fight anything that threatens you. He was not threatening me. He is Kitala. And you are becoming someone I no longer recognize. The words struck harder than any blade. Amina stepped back slightly. Everything I have done, she said quietly, I have done so you would never feel what we felt that night. And Kechi's eyes softened. I do not need you to destroy the world for me. A long silence. I need you, she whispered, to trust that I am not weak. Amina turned away, because trust required vulnerability, and vulnerability had once cost her a father. Weeks later, a letter arrived secretly, smuggled, hidden inside a shipment of carved ivory. It was from Jabari. Not romantic, strategic.
He warned of unrest in Zamora's northern mines, of generals meeting in secret, of a planned coup. Nkechi read it twice, then 3 times. Her heart raced. Was it manipulation or genuine warning? She made a decision that would alter everything. She took the letter to Amina. Amina read the letter slowly. Her face remained unreadable, but something inside shifted. If the warning was true, then the threat was not Kitala, it was inside Zamora. Again, the lioness had been watching outward, but the danger was circling from within. And for the first time, Amina considered the possibility that her sister's compassion had not been weakness, but insight. War had not yet erupted, but lines had been drawn. Love had entered the battlefield. Ambition had awakened in hidden corners, and the bond between 2 sisters, once unbreakable, now trembled under pressure. Because the greatest test was not external enemies, it was whether power could coexist with trust. Power does not collapse in a single day. It cracks quietly. It fractures in whispers. It rots behind silk curtains. And sometimes, it draws a blade in broad daylight. Queen Amina had not slept properly in weeks. The letter from Jabari lingered in her thoughts like smoke in a closed room. Northern mines, secret meetings, generals gathering without summons. She trusted very few men, and those she trusted were once trained by the same council that betrayed her father. In the throne chamber, maps lay scattered across the floor. Trade routes circled in red ink. Border garrisons marked with small carved figurines. Something was shifting. She could feel it, but she could not yet see its shape. And that uncertainty made her more dangerous than ever.
Meanwhile, Nkechi felt it too, but not through maps, through silence. Servants avoided her eyes. Courtwomen stopped conversations when she entered. The air in the palace felt heavier. That evening, she knelt alone in her chambers. She did not pray loudly. She simply whispered, "Give my sister wisdom," even when she refuses to ask for it. Then she rose, not weaker, but steadier, and decided she would no longer remain outside the storm.
To silence rumors of instability, Amina announced a grand public gathering, the Festival of Unity. Warriors marched, dancers performed, drums thundered across the red courtyard. Foreign envoys were invited. Even skeptical generals stood smiling before the people. But festivals are perfect distractions, and distractions are perfect opportunities. Nkechi stood beside the queen during the ceremonial blessing of the harvest. The crowd cheered, and then a flicker of silver in the sunlight. A blade flew from the balcony above, not toward Amina, toward Nkechi. Time slowed.
Amina moved instinctively. She shoved her sister aside. The blade grazed Nkechi's shoulder instead of her heart. The courtyard erupted in chaos. Guards scrambled. Screams filled the air. The assassin leapt from the balcony, but before he could be seized, he bit down on something hidden between his teeth. Foam formed at his lips. Poison. He collapsed, dead before answers could be forced from him. As the body was examined, a detail froze Amina's blood. On the assassin's wrist, a carved insignia, the mark of Zamora's royal guard. Not a foreign enemy, not Kitala, someone inside. Again, the same betrayal that killed her father. History was not repeating itself. It had never stopped. Amina ordered the palace sealed. No one in, no one out. Interrogations began before sunset. Generals were summoned, servants questioned. Even longtime allies were not spared. Her fury was not loud, it was control. And that was far more terrifying. Confronted General Ido. "You spoke against my sister's influence," she said quietly. He swallowed. "I spoke of political stability. And now she nearly lies dead." He denied involvement, convincingly, too convincingly. The queen released him, but her eyes promised something later. That night, Amina sat beside Nkechi's bed as a healer treated the wound. It was shallow, but the message behind it was deep. When they were alone, silence filled the room. Finally, Nkechi spoke. They were not aiming at true. Amina stood and walked to the window. She had conquered kingdoms, but she could not conquer this quiet challenge from her sister. While the queen hunted suspects openly, Nkechi hunted quietly. She visited the archives, she reviewed treasury records, and she found something buried. Gold shipments from the northern mines had been reduced over the past year, yet war spending had increased. Someone was siphoning wealth, funding something. She followed the trail, and it led to a familiar name, General Idowu. But there was more. Payments marked with a foreign seal, Kitala's seal. Her heart pounded. Was Jabari deceiving them after all? Or was someone trying to frame him? Nkechi made a dangerous decision. She left the palace at midnight with only one trusted maid. At the abandoned mango grove beyond the eastern wall, a cloaked figure waited. Jabari. He had returned secretly. "I did not come for romance," he said immediately. "I came because the coup begins in 3 days." Her breath caught. Idowu and 2 other generals. He handed her documents, proof of gold transfers, signed orders, plans to detain Amina during the next council session. "They believe she is too feared to be removed publicly," Jabari explained. "So they will accuse her of tyranny and replace her under the guise of stability." Nkechi's hands trembled. "Why help us?" Jabari held her gaze. "Because if Zamora collapses, Kitala falls next." A pause. "And because I gave you my word." When Nkechi brought the evidence to Amina, the queen studied it for a long time. "This could be forged," Amina said carefully. "Yes, it could. And if I trust this and it is a trap, I lose everything. If you do not trust it, you may lose everything anyway." Silence. Amina closed her eyes briefly. For years, she had trusted only steel. Now she had to decide whether to trust her sister's discernment. Finally, she gave orders, but not the ones Nkechi expected. At the next council session, Amina appeared calm, composed, almost indifferent. General Idowu stepped forward during deliberations. "Your Majesty," he began, voice smooth, The people whisper that constant war weakens us. Murmurs of agreement. We propose a temporary transfer of military oversight to the council. The doors burst open. Royal guards entered, but not Idowu's loyal men. Amina's hidden loyalists. Armed, prepared. The queen stood. "Continue," she said softly. Idowu's voice faltered. Amina descended from the throne. "You planned to detain me today," she said quietly, his face drained of color. "You accuse without—" She threw the signed documents before him. Seals, signatures, transfers. Gasps filled the chamber. The other conspirators attempted to flee. They were seized. Under pressure, one general broke first. "Yes!" he shouted. "We were promised stability." "By whom?" Amina demanded. The answer froze the room. By Chief Priest Maliko, the spiritual advisor of Zamora, the man who crowned Amina, the man who claimed divine approval of her wars. He entered the chamber slowly, calm, unshaken. "You built your throne on blood," he said coolly. "Do not be surprised when blood answers." "You orchestrated the attempt on my sister?" Amida's voice trembled for the first time. "She is your weakness. The kingdom needs a ruler without one." Silence. Then, Amina drew her blade, but she did not strike. Instead, she said something unexpected. "Remove his title, strip his wealth, exile him beyond our borders." The court gasped. "No execution?" Maliko laughed bitterly. "You show mercy now?" Amina's voice lowered. "No, I show control." The coup collapsed. The conspirators imprisoned. Maliko exiled. Order restored. But something had shifted permanently. The enemy had not been Kitala, not fully. It had been the system that thrived on fear. And Amina began to realize something unsettling. She had been ruling exactly the way those men expected her to rule. Through intimidation, through dominance, through constant war. Had she unknowingly strengthened the same culture that tried to destroy her? That night, she went to Nkechi's chamber without armor, no crown, no guards, just a sister. "You were right," she said quietly.
Nkechi looked up. "About what?" "I cannot fight every battle alone." A long silence. Then Amina added almost reluctantly, "Stay in council with me." It was not a surrender, but it was an invitation. Nkechi smiled faintly. "I will stand beside you. Not behind, not hidden, beside." The storm is not over. The coup was crushed, but trust was fragile. Jabari remained in secret alliance. The court was divided, and whispers had begun among the people, not of fear, but of change. And change is more threatening than war, because it cannot be controlled with a sword. In kingdoms ruled by steel, love is not a feeling, it is a threat, because when rulers fall in love, empires shift. And when sisters stand on opposite sides of destiny, history holds its breath. After the failed coup, Queen Amina did something unexpected. She sent a formal invitation to Kitala.
Not for war, for negotiation. The entire court was stunned. "Your Majesty," one elder protested, "we just uncovered foreign seals in the conspiracy." "And we also uncovered lies," Amina replied coldly. "I will not fight shadows when I can expose truth." The invitation carried a message beyond politics. It carried acknowledgement. Prince Jabari returned, this time openly. No secrecy, no midnight groves, no hidden glances. The lioness would confront this storm in daylight. When Jabari entered Zamora again, this time escorted with royal drums instead of suspicion, the people began whispering. The queen's sister loves the enemy prince. The lioness grows soft. Kitala will swallow Zamora through marriage. Market women argued. Warriors grumbled. Council members watched closely. And in the palace corridors, the tension thickened like harmattan dust before rain. In a private council chamber, Jabari spoke plainly. I propose an alliance through marriage, he said. The room froze. He did not look at Amina. He looked at Nkechi. I propose to marry Princess Nkechi Zaria. The words did not echo. They detonated. An elder slammed his staff on the floor. This is infiltration disguised as romance. Amina's eyes did not leave Jabari's face. And if I refuse, she asked calmly, then we remain vulnerable to those who profit from division, Jabari replied. Bold, calculated, dangerous. That night, the palace felt colder. Amina stood by the balcony overlooking the city lights, and Nkechi approached carefully. You knew this would happen, Amina said quietly. Yes, and you said nothing. I did not want it to become a battlefield before it had to. Amina turned sharply. Everything becomes a battlefield when you wear a crown. And Nkechi did not retreat. I am not asking you to surrender power. I am asking you to consider peace. Amina's voice lowered. Peace is fragile. So is fear. Silence. Heavy. Then Amina whispered something she had never admitted aloud. If he betrays you, I will burn Kitala to the ground. And Nkechi stepped closer. And if he doesn't? Amina had no answer. As negotiations continued, an elderly diviner, older than the exiled Maleko, requested private audience. His voice trembled, not from fear, but age. You were told once that you would rule by blood, he said softly to Amina. She stiffened. Yes, but the prophecy was incomplete. Her eyes sharpened. Incomplete? The lioness rules by blood until the dove brings unity through covenant. Amina's breath slowed. Covenant? Marriage, alliance, shared destiny. He bowed slightly. You were never meant to conquer all 7 kingdoms. You were meant to guard until reconciliation was possible. The words unsettled her more than any blade ever had. Had her wars been preparation, not permanence? Not everyone welcomed this revelation. General Idawo's imprisoned allies had families with influence. They stirred unrest among the soldiers. If Kitala enters through marriage, Zamora loses sovereignty. If the dove becomes queen, the lioness fades. Rumors spread like wildfire. And then, a group of high-ranking officers publicly resigned in protest of the proposed marriage. It was not a coup. It was something subtler, a warning. The army's loyalty was not absolute. Amina summoned Jabari privately. No counsel, no witnesses. You understand, she began calmly, that if this marriage weakens Zamora, I will end it. Jabari met her gaze steadily. If this marriage weakens Zamora, I will end it myself. That surprised her. You would abandon my sister? I would protect her, he corrected. Silence. Then he added something unexpected. I do not want your throne. I want stability. And I want her. There was no manipulation in his voice, only clarity. For the first time, Amina saw not an enemy prince, but a man who carried responsibilities similar to hers, heavy, unchosen. Just when peace seemed within reach, chaos returned. During a public address announcing preliminary alliance terms, an explosion ripped through the outer courtyard. Smoke engulfed the air. Screams followed. But this time, the target was not Nkechi. It was Jabari. He was thrown to the ground, wounded, not fatally, but enough to send a message. Someone wanted this alliance dead, and someone was willing to risk public carnage to stop it. Investigations moved swiftly, and this time, the evidence did not point inward, it pointed outward, to a third kingdom, Meroa, a nation weakened by both Zamora and Katala's previous wars. They feared unity, because unity would make them irrelevant. They funded the explosion. They manipulated dissenting officers. They fueled propaganda. And suddenly, the picture became clear. Division had always been profitable. Unity was the true threat. The council demanded retaliation. "Attack Meroa now," generals shouted. "Show strength." The old Amina would have agreed instantly, but now she hesitated. War would unite Zamora through fear again, but it would also prove Meroa's point, that blood is easier than trust. She looked at Nkechi, then at Jabari, then at her people. And for the first time since reclaiming the throne, she chose restraint. "We will not retaliate," she declared. Gasps filled the chamber. "We will strengthen borders. We will expose Meroa publicly, but we will not begin another war." Some called it weakness, others called it wisdom, but something invisible shifted that day. The lioness did not roar, she ruled. That night, Amina stood alone in the old courtyard where her father once sat. She remembered his words, "Power is proven by how many feel safe because you stand." For years, she had equated safety with dominance. Now she began to understand something deeper. Dominance silences enemies, but righteousness disarms them. She did not kneel. She was not that woman yet, but she breathed differently, and that mattered. Despite opposition, despite bloodshed, despite propaganda, the engagement was officially declared. Zamora and Katala would unite through marriage. The lioness stood beside the dove publicly, a visual statement to all kingdoms: we are not divided. But unity is expensive, and destiny rarely unfolds without resistance, because while the sisters stood together publicly, there was one secret still hidden from them. Some secrets do not die. They wait. They grow roots beneath marble floors. They breathe behind locked doors. And when they finally surface, they do not whisper. They shake foundations. 3 weeks before the royal wedding, an old palace archivist requested private audience with Princess Nkechi. His hands trembled, not from age, from fear. "There is something I kept hidden," he whispered. He produced a sealed scroll, old wax bearing the royal crest of Zamora. The seal had been broken once before and resealed. Nkechi's heart tightened. "Who opened this?" she asked. The archivist swallowed. Balogun Kwabena, Amina's former mentor, dead now, fallen during the crushed coup. The scroll had been written the night King Adiwale died, and it had never been read publicly. Nkechi broke the seal slowly. Her father's handwriting stared back at her. The letter was addressed not to the council, not to the people, but to his daughters. He had suspected betrayal before the coup. He had named names: Obasi, Ido, Chief Priest Maleko, but there was one more name, one that made Nkechi's blood run cold. Balogun Kwabena, the man who trained Amina, the man who shaped her into a warlord, the man she trusted like family. The letter ended with chilling clarity. If I fall, know this. Those who will stand closest to you may have once stood against me." Nkechi's hands trembled. If this letter was true, Amina's entire rise had been engineered. Had he been preparing her for power or steering her toward perpetual war? What if the lioness had been raised by one of the original wolves? Not to protect the kingdom, but to sustain instability. A conqueror is easier to manipulate than a reformer, and Kwabena had profited from war, arms contracts, gold routes, territorial negotiations. Nkechi felt something heavier than anger, grief, for the sister who thought she chose her path freely. That night, Nkechi brought the letter to Amina. The queen read in silence, once, twice, 3 times. Her face did not move, but something inside her fractured. "He saved us," Amina whispered. "He trained you," Nkechi replied carefully. "He told me war was the only language kingdoms understand. And maybe," Nkechi said softly, "he needed it to be." Amina's breathing grew uneven. "No," she paced. "He killed Obasi for me. He stood beside me when I reclaimed the throne." "Yes," Nkechi said gently, "and perhaps he did love you in his way, but that does not erase what he did before." For the first time since childhood, Amina broke. Not in public, not before generals, but before her sister. She sank into a chair and covered her face. "I thought I was protecting you. You were, with everything you had. But if I had known, you ruled from survival. Now you can rule from wisdom." A long silence. Then Amina said something she had never admitted. "I do not know who I am without war." But the letter held more. At the bottom, nearly faded. The prince who never demanded the throne, who never asked for military command, who offered alliance instead of dominance. Amina made a shocking decision. She summoned the council. She read her father's letter aloud. Every name, every betrayal, including Kwabena. Gasps filled the chamber. Warriors who once admired the fallen general stared in disbelief. "You lied to us." "No," Amina replied steadily. "I was lied to." Then she said something no ruler had ever said in Zamora's history. "I was wrong to believe war was our only future." The wedding approached. Unrest simmered. Amina faced a crossroads. The courtyard was adorned with gold cloth and white lilies, Kitala and Zamoran banners intertwined. Crowds gathered. Hope trembled in the air. And then, before vows could be spoken, a horn sounded from the northern wall. Urgent, unmistakable. An army approached. A coalition of smaller kingdoms led by disgruntled Zamoran officers. No lioness, no dove, no foreign rule. Generals rushed to Amina. "Command us." Instead, she stepped forward, alone, toward the gate, unarmed. She walked beyond the walls, facing the approaching army, wind whipping her robes. "If you believe I rule for power," she called out, "then take it. Will not spill more Zamoran blood to defend my pride." The opposing soldiers hesitated. Confusion cracked their formation. Because tyrants do not offer surrender, and warlords do not lay down ego. The moment stretched, and in that space,
something shifted.
The greatest battles are not fought with steel. They are fought with surrender. And sometimes, the strongest ruler is the one who dares to lay down her sword. Queen Amina stood alone beyond Zamora's gates, unarmed, unshielded, before an army raised on her own soil. Dust curled around her feet. Across the plain, the coalition forces shifted uneasily. Their leaders expected resistance. They expected archers lining the walls. They expected war. Instead, they saw their warlord queen standing with empty hands. A commander rode forward. "You expect us to believe this is not a trick?" Amina's voice carried clearly. "If I wanted you dead, you would already be dead." Murmurs rippled through the ranks. "I will not slaughter my own people to preserve an image," she continued. "You claim I rule through fear. Today, I give you freedom to prove it." Silence. It was not weakness in her tone. It was authority without violence, and it unsettled them more than any drawn blade. Behind her, atop the walls, soldiers of Zamora watched breathlessly. Nkechi stood beside Jabari, hands clasped tight,
Whispering under her breath, "Let truth be louder than pride." On the field, doubt spread like fire in dry grass. The rebel soldiers had been told the lioness was tyrannical, merciless, power-hungry. But tyrants do not offer themselves without defense. A young soldier stepped forward unexpectedly. He removed his helmet. "My brother died in your northern campaign," he called out. Amina did not flinch. "I know," she said quietly. "I carry every name," she said quietly. "I carry every mother's tears." Her voice cracked, not from weakness, but from weight. "I thought war would secure our future. I was wrong about how much it would cost." The soldier lowered his sword. One by one, others followed. Not all, but enough. Just as tension began dissolving, an arrow sliced through the air. It struck the ground inches from Amina, not from the rebel ranks, from behind, from within Zamora's walls. A hidden faction, one final extremist group unwilling to surrender power politics. Their masked leader emerged on horseback through a side gate. A former high-ranking officer thought imprisoned, he had escaped. "You see," he shouted, "she weakens us. She kneels before enemies." He drew his bow again, this arrow aimed at Nkechi on the wall. Time fractured. Amina turned, without thinking, and stepped into its path. The arrow struck her shoulder, not fatal, but deep. The courtyard erupted in chaos. Jabari leapt forward to shield Nkechi. Zamoran guards tackled the extremist leader. The coalition army, seeing the treachery from within the palace, turned against the extremist faction. Because now, the truth was undeniable. The lioness had not been their enemy. Division had been. Amina dropped to one knee. Blood darkened her robe. Nkechi ran to her side. "You fool," Nkechi whispered through tears. Amina smiled faintly. "I told you I would protect you." "You cannot carry everything," Nkechi said, voice shaking. Amina looked at her, not as shield, not as burden, but as equal. "Then help me carry it." The extremist faction was subdued. The coalition disbanded, but something irreversible had happened. The people had witnessed a ruler choosing vulnerability, a queen admitting fault, a leader willing to bleed rather than dominate. Fear cracked, respect deepened,
Not the fear of violence, but the respect of integrity. In the grand courtyard where she once reclaimed the throne, Amina stood before the entire kingdom, her arm bandaged, her posture steady. "My reign began in blood," she declared.
And I believed strength meant never yielding. But strength also means knowing when your season has changed. She turned to Nkechi. "I protected you from the world. You must now protect this world from me becoming what I once fought." She removed her crown and placed it in her sister's hands. "I remain your defender," she said, "but you will lead us forward." And thus, the dove became queen. Some rulers conquer kingdoms, others conquer themselves. The lioness once ruled through fear, but she became legendary because she chose redemption over pride. And the dove? She proved that faith does not need to shout to transform a nation. In the end, the throne of Zamora was not secured by swords. It was secured by surrender. And that is the story of the warlord queen who laid down her blade and found her true strength. If this story moved you, if you believe strength and mercy can coexist, comment
strength and mercy, like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs to know. You are not trapped by who pain forced you to become. You can choose who you become next.